When my children skipped Mother's Day for the third year in a row, I finally understood something that had been whispering to me for years. I was not their mother anymore. I was their emergency fund. And that was the day I decided to close the account. My name is Margaret Hale. I was 72 years old the last time I set the dining table for my children and believed they were coming because they loved me. The dining room smelled of rosemary chicken and fresh-baked bread. I had been on my feet since 7 that morning. The good china, ivory with delicate gold trim, was polished and placed carefully. Cloth napkins. Crystal glasses. The works. I had even taken out the lace tablecloth my husband and I bought on our honeymoon 48 years earlier. It felt important. Mother's Day always did. I had called both of them the night before. Tomorrow at noon, I reminded my daughter Claire. Yes, Mom, she said, distracted. We'll be there. Then I called my son, David. Wouldn't miss it, he said. Promise. I should have known better than to believe promises. By 12:15, I was still hopeful. By 12:45, I checked my phone. No messages. By 1:30, the chicken was drying out under the foil tent I had placed over it. At 2 o'clock, I called. No answer from Claire. David's phone went straight to voicemail. At 3:10, I finally stopped pretending. I turned off the oven. I put the food into containers. I sat alone at the table and stared at 2 empty chairs. The silence in that room was louder than any argument. Outside, neighbors hosted backyard gatherings. I could hear laughter, music, children shouting Happy Mother's Day. Inside my house, there was nothing but ticking clocks. At 6:30 p.m. I heard a car door slam. Headlights flashed against my living room curtains. My heart betrayed me and leapt. The front door opened without a knock. Hey, Mom. Claire's voice rang out. David followed her in, carrying nothing. No flowers. No card. No cake. Just themselves. Claire smelled like perfume and wine. David's shirt was new. Sorry we're late, Claire said, checking her phone. Brunch ran long. Brunch. So they had celebrated Mother's Day. Just not with their mother. Before I could speak, David cleared his throat. Mom, actually, we need to talk to you. Of course you do, I thought. Claire sat at the table I had set for them hours earlier. It's just temporary, she began. We've had some unexpected expenses. David leaned forward. We need $5,000. $5,000. The number hung in the air like smoke. We'll pay you back, Claire added quickly. They always said that. They never did. I looked at them, really looked at them, and something shifted permanently inside me. They hadn't come to celebrate me. They had come to withdraw. Raising Claire and David had never been easy. Their father, Thomas, died when Claire was 16 and David was 13. A heart attack. Sudden. Cruel. I went from housewife to sole provider overnight. I worked at the local library during the day and cleaned offices at night. I sold Thomas's tools. I pawned jewelry. I skipped doctor appointments because co-pays were luxuries. They never went hungry. They never missed a school trip. Claire had braces. David played baseball. I made sure of it. When Claire got into college, I co-signed her student loans. When David wanted to start a small landscaping business, I gave him $10,000 from Thomas's life insurance policy. It's an investment in your future, I told him. The business failed in 2 years. The money never returned. Over the next decade, the emergencies multiplied. Car repairs. Medical bills. Credit card debt. Divorces. New apartments. Just until we get back on our feet. I kept a notebook. Not because I planned to confront them, but because I needed to understand where my savings were going. By the time I was 70, I had given them over $86,000. That's what motherhood had cost me after they became adults. $86,000. And not once had they asked, Mom, are you okay? Back in the dining room, they were still talking. Mom, please, Claire said. We're in a tight spot. What happened? I asked calmly. Claire hesitated. David answered instead. Investments didn't pan out. Investments. Claire avoided my eyes. I saw the photos, I said quietly. What photos? David snapped. The trip to Napa last weekend. The new SUV, Claire. Silence. It was a lease, she muttered. Of course it was. I stood slowly and walked to my desk. From the drawer, I removed a folder. Inside were bank statements. Withdrawal slips. Dates. Amounts. I placed them on the table. You have taken $86,000 from me in 12 years, I said evenly. They stared. That can't be right, David said. It is. Claire's expression hardened. So what? We're your children. There it was. Entitlement. Not gratitude. Not love. Access. I'm not an ATM, I replied. David's jaw tightened. Are you going to help us or not? That was the moment. The exact moment I felt something ancient inside me rise. I'm not giving you $5,000, I said. Claire pushed back her chair. Unbelievable. David stood too. After everything we've been through, yes, I interrupted softly. After everything. They left in anger. They did not hug me. They did not say Happy Mother's Day. The door closed. And in that silence, I made the most important decision of my life. I did not cry. Not this time. Instead, I went to my bedroom, opened my closet, and pulled down a small metal box. Inside were documents I had been quietly collecting for months. I had not been entirely blind. I had seen the pattern. And I had begun preparing. The house was paid off. Estimated value, $420,000. Savings remaining, $112,000. Retirement income, modest, but steady. I had also spoken to an attorney 2 weeks earlier. Just in case. The next morning, I called him. I'd like to finalize the changes, I said. We met that Thursday. My will was rewritten. Claire and David would no longer automatically inherit everything. 40% would go to a women's shelter. 20% to a scholarship fund at the local high school. 10% to my church. The remaining 30%, divided between Claire and David. If they contested it, they would receive nothing. My lawyer raised an eyebrow. You're certain? I've never been more certain of anything. Next, I contacted a realtor. The house would be listed within the month. I also opened a new bank account at a different institution. One they did not know about. I transferred the majority of my funds. Quietly. Systematically. No drama. Just boundaries. 3 weeks later, I invited Claire and David to dinner. They arrived cautiously. What's this about? David asked. Closure, I said. Dinner was simple. No lace tablecloth this time. After we ate, I handed them each a folder. Claire opened hers first. What is this? She demanded. My updated will, I replied. David flipped through his. His face paled. You're giving our inheritance away? I'm reallocating it, I corrected. You can't be serious, Claire whispered. I am. David slammed the folder down. This is because of $5,000. This is because of $86,000, I said calmly. And because you forgot I am a person. Claire's eyes filled with tears. Mom, we didn't mean. You meant exactly what you did, I said gently. David's voice dropped. So that's it? You're punishing us? No, I said. I'm protecting myself. They were stunned. Not because I was cruel. But because I was no longer compliant. You're all we have, Claire said. I looked at her steadily. No, irraplia. You just thought I'd always be there to bail you out. Silence swallowed the room. For the first time in your lives, I said softly, you will have to stand without my wallet under you. They left in disbelief. That was the shock of their lives. Not the money. The boundary. I sold the house that autumn. I downsized to a small coastal town 3 hours away. I bought a modest cottage near the water. White shutters. A tiny porch. Wind chimes. For the first time in decades, I decorated for myself. Not for holidays. Not for visitors. For me. I joined a book club. Took watercolor classes. Made friends who asked about my dreams instead of my bank balance. Claire called twice in the first year. David once. The conversations were polite. Careful. Different. They asked how I was. Really asked. I did not send money. They did not ask. The distance changed something. In them. And in me. 2 years later, Claire visited. Alone. She sat at my small kitchen table and cried. I didn't realize what we were doing to you, she said. David came a month later. He apologized without excuses. The real shock, it turned out, wasn't the will. It wasn't the house. It wasn't the money. It was discovering that I could say no. And survive it. They learned something too. When the account closed, they had to grow up. And when I stopped financing their lives, they began building their own. I am 75 now. I walk by the ocean every morning. I have peace. Claire and David visit once a year. They bring flowers. They bring stories. They bring gratitude. They do not bring invoices. Motherhood cost me many things. But it no longer costs me myself. If they ever forget again, I will remind them. Not with anger. But with boundaries. Because love without respect is not love. And the day they skipped Mother's Day and asked me for money? That was the day I finally made a deposit into my own life. And it has been earning interest ever since.